I am, as we said, with Roofers Coffee Shop, and today I'm actually, and I'm going to move this because it's distracting me. Today I'm actually here for a couple reasons. So in a little bit, after I talk about some updates, we're going to have a contractor panel come up, and that has really been an honor to have, to work every day. I work with roofing contractors, and to bring them to the RCMA to really talk about roof coatings and what's happening on the roof, in the field. So that's gonna happen in about a half hour or less. In the meantime, I want to share a little bit about Roofers Coffee Shop. So first of all, I would say, how many people have either heard of or been on the Roofers Coffee Shop site? Again, that's a big change from a couple years ago, so I wanted to say thank you so much, and thank you for being part of the community. Roofers Coffee Shop is about community. It's about really bringing the professionalism, the respect of roofing to the forefront, and that has been our whole goal for over 21 years, if you can believe that. It started in 2002, and before most contractors had computers on their desk. And so in 2015, we really decided we wanted to take it to the next level and bring in multimedia, really look at being heavily involved with associations. And so that's one of the reasons we believe in associations. It's top of our core values is to be involved. And so we are very active, as we are with RCMA, with NRCA, with all the regionals. And I just want to say, for the MRCA folks who were just here, what an amazing association. And also IBEC. And these are the places that really make a difference in our industry and who help take us to that next level. So as we talk to people, and as we have grown Roofers Coffee Shop, I've talked to other folks who have said, we want to shine a light, like Roofers Coffee Shop has for roofing, the roofing industry. We want to shine a light on other parts of whether it's roofing or the building industry. So last summer, in the summer of 2022, we actually started our second coffee shop, and that was Metal Coffee Shop. Metal Coffee Shop is out there if you're interested. It's for the metal construction industry. We have seen huge growth, very involved with the MCA, Metal Construction Association, and the Metal Roofing Alliance, along with MetalCon. And then over the last year, in talking to a number of folks, there was a need that was seen to really shine that same light on roof coatings. So at FRSA 2 weeks ago, we launched Coatings Coffee Shop. Coatings Coffee Shop is a new site, and it is for roof coatings 100%. We are going to focus in on what is happening with roof coatings, how contractors can get better, how they can learn, where they find the resources, and what they need to do. This site we are super excited about, and we have done it with our friends at APOC. They stepped forward. Sarah is right there, and they stepped forward really, and Sarah's going to talk to us a little bit about this, but to say we need a site for contractors where they can get training, they can get education, and I'm going to make sure I can run your computer here, Jesse, but we wanted to have RCMA at the top of that list. And so in speaking with Dan before he left, so now Amy, and working with Chris and Will and Jim and Greg, we really said we want to take what RCMA is doing and we want to bring that to the attention of all the contractors. So on this site, you're going to see information on trainings, on what is happening out there with different podcasts. In fact, there is Chris's podcast that we did before this meeting. And you can see other information on there too, but you can also see there's training over on the side with video. We have the latest news. We are doing our RLWs, our Read, Listen, Watch, which is our programs of webinars and podcasts and videos, forums and events. It is really what we're looking at is just trying to bring a focus, and we want to, I'm really talking about this with RCMA, with the what Chris talked about earlier today of marketing and communications. How do we get the word out? Well, we've been doing it for 21 years, and we want to help do it for you. So that is really where this has all come from is to help the contractors get the information they need, the training they need in one place. We know they can go to RCMA website, so that's exactly, if they find us, we're sending them to you. If they find you, we hope you send them to us, because all the information will come together and be built from that. Just like on any of the coffee shop sites, we started with classifieds. So I have to ask, I know there'll be at least a few people, how many people remember Roofers Exchange? So Roofers Exchange was started by Vicki Sharples, my business partner, out of LA, and it was all classifieds, right? It was that bulletin board in the distributor's office, and she would take everything seriously. If you've never heard the story, she would take the business cards off the bulletin board. She would wax them onto a piece of paper, create a newspaper. This is way back in the old days. And then the next morning she would take the bulletin board and put it back exactly as it was, right on the shelf. And then that's how the newspaper started. And by the time Vicki Roofers Exchange actually retired, it was on every counter across the country, on every distributor's counter. At that time, she was a visionary and she launched Roofers Coffee Shop. So today we still have the classifieds. On all of our sites, you're gonna find contractors talking to contractors, looking for labor, looking for selling materials. It's so fun. You can find tools on there, you can find all this different kinds of things. And it has really, it's kind of with the times. It used to be out in the classifieds, what I always say used to be out in front of the 7-Elevens or on the distributor's counter, and now it's all online. So these are the types of things that we're continuing. We have a full directory. So we have all of this is something open, but you can see there are all kinds of folks on this site, and many of you in this room are on this directory. So we are continuing to grow that. And then also, and the big thing that we've changed is, along with our newsroom, where we're putting out news every single day, and our Read, Listen, Watch with education, we now are focused on trainings, because we feel this is the most important thing for the contractors right now with roof coatings. So that is a real quick thing. This is not a sales pitch. We honestly do this, and I think most of you know, if you've watched with Roofers Coffee Shop, we do this with associations. We believe in the industry, and we want to give back. If you are interested in getting more involved in it, of course, I would always love to talk to you. But this is something that we are really focused on, giving back and getting out there and helping contractors. So at this point, I would love for Sarah to come up real quick, because she was a motivating idea lady behind this, and just give her thoughts on a little bit of how this can help RCMA and help everybody in this room.
You kind of said most of it. Yeah, all of it. But the idea behind Coatings Coffee Shop was really, again, just to bring the industry together, focus very, very, very heavily on training. There are so many tips and tricks of things to do. This is also a place where we can say, hey, these are the things not to do. So these are the stumbling blocks that we want to keep you out of. This is a great place for us as RCMA to promote the training programs that we have, to promote the organization. And there may be some opportunities with future content that we create as an organization that can be shared over here as well. Heidi's got great access to contractors, and this is a great channel for us to get that information out. So I feel like we've been saying this for like months. We're so excited, but we're really excited to launch this platform, this community, and I hope that we see a lot of participation from the coatings manufacturers here, because it's just a great place for us to communicate all the benefits of what we do day in and day out, particularly knowing that there are a lot of contractors out there that are not participating in coatings yet, and I've heard it multiple times in trainings. They didn't know how to start, and this is a great place for them to start. So hoping to see a lot of other company names up here in the coming months.
So I will say, and I'm sure I've talked to many of you, you know that we are not a nonprofit. But we are doing this at anything that comes through RCMA goes onto our site. So everything, every article, everything RCMA at no cost, there's no cost. So if you are part of RCMA and you have articles and you have information, run it through RCMA, they're going to get it to us and we're gonna get it out. So that is part of you being members of RCMA and how important that is. If you do decide you want to do a bigger presence and do those trainings and everything like that, that's also available. But this is about getting the word out about roof coatings. So, yes?
Can you speak to how the directory works? Is it as simple as just signing up and putting your info, or do you
Yep.
have a membership portal? Or,
Thank you. We actually have account managers for everybody who's on our site. So RCMA has their own account manager. Every advertiser on there has an account manager, and we do it all for you. So we work with the company, and then we go through the website and build the directory. So we build all the directories, and we find out what's most important. And the directory is like it's a live, living document, in that you're constantly updating it with new initiatives, new trainings, whatever. We put that towards the top, plus we run that across the entire site. So that, because, and I didn't even mention full social media, full podcasts, webinars, all the multimedia will also be part of Coatings Coffee Shop. And so just for everybody who's out there marketing wise and thinking this direction, it's interesting. When I talk to contractors, I can have 4 or 5 contractors standing in front of me and I'll say, where do you get your information? From Roofers Coffee Shop. And one will say social media, one will say podcasts, one will say, oh, every morning I'm with my cup of coffee reading the news. The next one will say, oh, I watch all your webinars. The next one's like, I come to your coffee conversations. So that's why we do it across so many channels, because everybody's different and everybody wants to digest their information different. So, and we help build all those directories very easy.
you have a YouTube channel?
We have a YouTube channel. We actually go live from most of the shows. We were live from FRSA onto YouTube and also onto Facebook. And then we will have a very large booth in the lobby of the IRE. So I'm very excited with the soundstage on it, where we'll be broadcasting live throughout the whole show. So, and we do that at Western States also, and MetalCon. So, and we've actually did one from here already. So yeah, we went live.
Cool.
Any other questions about the coffee shops? Okay, great. I want to say thank you to everyone for your support, because I have to tell you, I look in the faces in this room and you have all supported us so much. And I want to say thank you very, very much. We appreciate it, and it's great for the industry. So, okay, now we're going to get to the good stuff. Okay, again, my name is Heidi Ellsworth, and I am with Roofers Coffee Shop and Coatings Coffee Shop, and I had the great honor of being asked to put together contractor panels. This is our 3rd panel. Our first one was in Chicago, and was, I thought, a great success. And our second one was last year, and I actually was on a plane that didn't make it, and so Chris was the moderator last year. Thank you so much. So this is our 3rd year, and I am very excited to introduce this panel. Just to give you a little bit of background, when as I speak with Jim and Will, and before I go any further, I want to say this panel is sponsored by General Coatings. So Will is thank you so much. And I love working with him. Will keeps me on the straight and narrow, as does Jim. So when we start talking about this, my whole goal was to find contractors, companies that are doing coatings, but not 100%, because I think it's really important for all of you in this room to understand where the contractors are who are doing a lot of coatings, who are doing a little bit, medium, or a little. And also from all different parts of the country, because we know regionality plays in to the coatings. So as we look at this, that was really a big part of it. And then determining the questions, the whole goal of this panel is to really provide you information for your technical, your R&D, your marketing, and really working with the contractors and making sure that they are putting on the best roofing systems available, and really we really feel it should be a win-win-win across the board. So that's why this very distinguished panel is here today. So we'll start with some introductions. First of all, I would like to introduce Mitch Rabin with A1 Roofing. Mitch, if you could introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your business, just a little bit, and then we're gonna get into the full details in a minute.
Okay, my name is Mitch Rabin. I'm president of A1 Roofing. I'm also the current president of the Chicago Roofing Contractors Association. My company was formed by my grandfather in 1910, so we're 113 years old. My son joined me about 6 years ago as our fourth generation. And coatings is something that I've been researching for the last 5 or 6 years. I know we want to do business with, and there's a lot of pros and cons in the industry, but right now it's our main focus, and it's been most of my emails over the last 2 days since I've been here are coating projects.
Perfect. I love it. Then Lisa Irby with Thomas Roofing. Lisa?
Hi, I'm the vice president and also the service department manager. Coatings falls under my umbrella, so to speak. Been with the company for 32 years. Started there as a data entry, moved to service manager 22 years ago, and we'll stay there till I die, basically, because it's a great company. We are a third generation company, family owned company. And been doing coatings since '07. It's a big part of our business.
Excellent. Rudy. Rudy Gutierrez with Shell Roofing.
Good morning, everybody. Great to be here. Thank you to the RCMA for putting on this amazing 2 days. It's Roofer's Coffee Shop and now Coatings Coffee Shop. Pretty exciting. Heidi always brings out some amazing new ideas to the table. And to the sponsors, most of the sponsors that are on the board, we are fully committed and use the products. I'm president of Shell Roofing Solutions Group in California. We are a commercial roofing company. We primarily focus on cold storage, food processing, aerospace industry, and logistics. Coatings is a great mix for our product offering, from full coating systems to our maintenance division. So we're really excited about this panel and about all your questions.
Awesome. Perfect. And Dennis Perry with Commercial Roofers.
Good morning. Thanks for the invite here. It's really interesting conference going here. I've been in the roofing industry for a little over 40 years. Commercial roofers, myself and 3 individuals started the company in 1996. We feel we're probably one of the best roofing companies in Las Vegas, and because we're in Las Vegas, coatings are a big part of our repertoire. We have a lot of re-roofs that we do coating on, and we focus a lot on spray foams. So we use a lot of different coatings from different spray foams, and just a good product, and we enjoy working with a lot of manufacturers here.
I do have to say, if you go to Las Vegas and you see that big round ball, a sphere, this is Dennis.
Yeah.
Yes. Very cool. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to get you a little bit more information about each of these companies. I do want to say this is a really honest conversation, honest discussion. So if you have questions as we're going, go ahead and ask. I want to make sure we get through in the time, right? But we do want to we don't have to wait till the end for questions. And also, be careful what you ask, because you're going to get some really honest answers. So here we go. Okay, so first of all, Mitch, I'd like to start with you. And it's basically, we're going to go through these questions, share how roof coatings are part of your business model today, what percentage of coatings are spray applied versus manually applied, and what coatings do you use, and what are your preferred systems?
Okay, so coatings are growing in our company. I've been at the company now 43 years, and we're not an experimental company. If you go back years before the coatings, and I'll throw some names out of that I don't know, looking at the age of the people in the room here, too many will know, but we were not part of the Celotex systems that failed, the 2-ply, we weren't part of the KMF systems that failed, or the HPG PVCs that shattered, so we like to wait. And it was about right before COVID when I decided it appeared that the coating industry, the coating products, they got into a point where they looked like they were gonna be sustainable and workable. So last year, we did maybe just under 1,000 squares of coatings. This year, we've got about 1,200 squares on the books right now, and it's something that we're looking at. Since I got here yesterday morning, I received an infrared study of one that we're looking at right now, and then I've got a story, which we'll probably talk about later, of something that came up last week on the coatings. So as far as spray versus manual, we don't do any spray coatings at this point. You know, Chicago's a very dense city. The buildings are inches apart in some cases. I don't know if you're all familiar with a organization called Roofers Insurance Limited. It's a insurance captive that was formed in 2006. We're one of the founding companies. And there were 22 companies when we opened up on May 1st of 2006. We write liability, auto, and workman's comp for roofing contractors. And now we have about 178 partners across the country, and we're in over 40 states. And last year there was an asterisk on the loss runs when I was looking at them of $300,000 to $400,000 in claims for coating jobs, and they were all overspray. So at this point we are strictly, we roll them on, but Lisa and I have been talking yesterday about trying to spray some if we can find a safe way to do it. And what coatings to use and what are preferred. Our preferred systems that we sell are silicone systems. We have done urethanes, but when those come up, they're specified for the IBEC people here, when they're usually specified by consultants because of the price point so much higher than the silicone. Being a union company, when we're looking to compete in the marketplace, the silicone is more competitive for us than using a urethane with a fabric or that type of system.
Lisa?
Okay, so we brought coatings into our company back, like I said, in 2007. The owners of our company were very much, we are not coating contractors, just because they had a bad reputation. So I convinced them to let us do a project that was a urethane and silicone project, and it was very successful, and they gave me a green light. So at that point, it was all I needed. It's probably 40% of my service sales. I did 4.38 last year, 1.7 of it was coatings. So it's a pretty big number as far as what I do per year. We do on average probably 10,000 squares per year because we do a lot of large buildings. We do a lot of industrial work. We primarily spray. We spray probably 70% of our coatings. Roll the remainder. Not every job is a spray job, but we have come up with ways to spray successfully where you don't have the overspray. Been very successful at it, and it's very fast. When you're doing 22 to 2,400 squares, you need to get on and off the building pretty quickly. So I've got one full-time crew, and that's all they do. So I can't back jobs up too much, so we had to learn a way to get them over quick. The coatings we primarily use is probably 40% silicone, 40% urethane and silicone, and then 20% acrylic. In our area, acrylics are very difficult because we are the 5th wettest city in the nation. So with that being said, we have to hand select when we can do our acrylic jobs, and we try not to book too many of them. So we primarily spray silicone even on metal.
Great. Rudy?
So coatings, we introduced them into our company back in 2008. It was a good strategy for us to use the coatings in logistics, heavy industrial buildings. I live in an environment where we don't get a lot of rain, so energy efficiency was our strategy. The reduction in heat through a white reflective material on the roof was a good fit for us, and that's was part of our sales model. So we ran with it. We're very successful with it. Coatings is a large part of our revenue stream. We typically, in the environments that we work in, heavy industrial, aerospace, logistics, we get to spray a lot of the projects. So I would say that 70% of our projects are sprayed. The other are rolled, and that's more in the dense populated areas, like downtown Los Angeles or Northern California. The coating systems that we would typically use, because of our dry climate, we're able to use the acrylics, we're able to go hybrids, where we use acrylics on the field, and then maybe silicones and waterways, just to as additional protection. We're definitely growing in the silicone area in specific on specific buildings. We do quite a bit of metal buildings or manufacturing. That has proven to be a very successful area for us. So that's our mix.
That's great. Excellent. Dennis?
Coatings have always been a large part of our business. I would say probably 30% of our work we do is with coatings. We spray everything. Very seldom do we break a roller around it. Not labor intensive. We do a lot of spray foam with acrylics. We use urethanes, acrylic, silicones. It's just basically a mix of what project requires. We do way more acrylic than we do the silicones and the urethanes. It's a good product, and it really helps us make some money.
Great. And spray versus manual, did you already say that? Sorry.
What?
The spray? Yeah, you did. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I just want to make sure.
Spray.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to start, Dennis, I'm going to start with you on what protocol do you use when selecting a product manufacturer for applications?
Look, for selecting a manufacturer, we always look at, are they gonna be a partner, or are they just gonna be a sales organization? We wanna have a partner that's can help us with trainings, can help us with warranty and quality of their system, and then which manufacturer pays for which project you're looking at makes a big difference too.
Rudy?
I agree with Dennis. It's very important to have a strong representation of the product, certainly the reputation of the manufacturer. But truly, we view the partnership as one of the most important parts of selecting a product for our client, and obviously support it with all the typical strong warranties and representation.
Perfect. Lisa?
I agree with both of them. For us, we require a good, after the project is finished, warranty inspection. And the company we primarily use goes over our roofs with a fine tooth comb. So we trust that the product we install was installed in properly. And also, we are all right with the warranty on it, because most coating warranties are up front, you pay for the first half of it, and the back half is the manufacturer's. With that being said, we're just very careful on what we sell. We know it's a good product, we know it's a good roof, and the application was done properly.
Excellent. And Mitch?
Okay, so now we'll get a little controversy there.
Yeah.
So we talked about this. So when I did my meetings over the last few years, I talked to over 20 coating companies. And one of the issues is if you're working with a membrane company, whether, and I'm gonna name names, doesn't matter, whether it's Elevate, Carlisle, JM, the contractor picks up the first 2 years of the warranty, and the balance of the 10, 15, or 20-year warranty is picked up by the manufacturer. What I ran into with a lot of coating companies is they wanted us to pick up the first half of the warranty, which Lisa just mentioned. So if it's a 10-year warranty, we had to pick up 5. If it's 15, it was 7 or 7.5, and 20, it was 10. And that's a liability that I am not willing to put on my company. You know, we don't warranty the membrane systems for that long, and so there's no way that I could work with an organization that wants me to warranty the coating for 10 years if it's a 20-year. Because normally the theory in roofing has been, if there's a problem with the application, it's gonna show up in the first 2 years. And to saddle the contractor with a 10-year warranty, to me, the manufacturer is saying, we don't have a lot of faith in our product, that they're not willing to stand behind it for half the warranty period. So manufacturers that we work with are the ones that keep our warranty, our liability down at the bottom end. One of the major manufacturers bought a coating system a few years ago. I'm avoiding names now. And I've been told I need to do that. And at a CRCA meeting, I didn't do that and I got in trouble afterwards. But when they bought the company, they took the warranty from the 50-50 split to the 2-year warranty, and now that's our primary company we're working with now. You know, it's not that I'm afraid of our work or afraid of standing behind our work, it's the issue that if we don't need to bring that warranty into our company, we're not going to. There are some major membrane manufacturers, and I will throw out names. Sika, which requires a contractor to have a 5-year warranty. Performance Roof Systems with their Duragum requires a contractor to have a 5-year warranty, and they've asked me why we do that work when inspected. They asked me why won't I inspect their jobs. I said because I can go to the other manufacturers and only have a 2-year warranty and the liability on my company. So for the manufacturers that are here that have the 50-50 split, it's a tough sell to get the contractors to use that product, it's putting too much liability on them.
Interesting. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Well, if you have questions, let us know. Okay, so what are your largest concerns and challenges with coatings? So Mitch, we're gonna start with you.
Okay, so I had a long discussion with somebody at the NRCA recently at a CRCA event, where I feel that roof coatings are gonna be the biggest failure in the last 50 years of the roofing industry, and not because of the product. I'm fully behind the product. I've got a 30,000 square foot warehouse that I put silicone on 2 years ago. So if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't have done it. The problem is there's a lot of companies that are just selling buckets, and there's a lot of people that are installing it on roofs that it doesn't belong. We require an infrared before we'll do it. The companies we partner with come out and they look at the jobs before we do it. If we can't do an infrared, we do core samples every 1,000 square feet. So there's a number of jobs that I've walked away from that other companies have put the coatings on because they couldn't be done. And can I do my 2 case studies?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so real life application. 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, somewhere on there, I get a call from Geico. Well, I'm saying the name for a reason. So a Geico silicone coating system was put on this condo and was failing everywhere. It's about 18 months old. And I go out there and I meet these 2 board members, and they're ladies in their mid-70s, and they were crying during the conversation because they just spent all this money to put the silicone coating up on this roof and it's failing everywhere. And we went up there and I cored the roof. It was a TPO roof that they went over, and there was so much water underneath the TPO roof system that I had to call one of my roofers to come and give me a hand because I couldn't pass the hole because the water just kept seeping out. It was more than I could handle as the company owner. And the issue was that the coating was put over a wet roof, which I think most people know, if you put a coating over a wet roof, it's gonna fail. And the ladies asked me, what can they do? And I said, you need to tear it off. And they said, we don't have money, it's not in our budget. So we couldn't come up with a solution that they could afford, so I don't know what ended up happening with that building. My other one just came up last week. In this one, everything was done perfectly. It was an 18-year-old APP modified bit roof. They hired a contractor. The goal was to extend the life of the roof. Coatings are a rejuvenation of a roof system. So they went and they did a silicone roof. They did the bleed block. They allegedly prepped the roof, put the bleed block down, put down the silicone, did all the prep work. I got called in last week because the coating is peeling everywhere. Part of the problem is after they did it, they went up, the condo board went up, walkways, beautiful decks, it's all up on steel structures. And now the coating is failing all over the roof. And we don't have the exact reason why yet, we cored it in a few areas and the roof was wet. Now, we don't know if it was wet before the contractor did the job, or if it got wet during the construction work, or something else went wrong, because that's causing the peeling. I grabbed a section of it, I was up there Friday and just peeled back a big piece, just grabbed it and peeled it right off the roof. While we were sitting here this morning, I got a call back saying that the manufacturer has reviewed things and they're gonna walk from the warranty. I just heard that about 10 o'clock this morning. They just signed my contract to do some test sections to see if we could get something. But the issue here is everything was done right. Coatings are designed to extend the life of an existing roof. 18-year-old roof, perfect time to look at coatings. They hired a contractor, he did it, he followed the spec, put on the lead block, put on everything allegedly according to what he's supposed to do, and it's failed. And my opinion, for whatever it's worth, I'm gonna guess that moisture was in the roof before he put the coating on, that maybe they didn't clean it well enough. And this is why I feel that the coating industry is going to take some very big hits. Because there's a lot of contractors that are putting coatings down on roofs where they don't belong, and the reputation gets bad. And numerous people have told me, you're the only one who wants to do an infrared, why should we spend that money? The other people say everything is fine. We lost a beautiful 400 square job to a painting contractor. Now the painting contractor doesn't have the insurance to be on the roof. I'm sure he didn't go up there and put up guardrails and protect the skylights and everything he needed to do, but he's giving us a coating, he's giving us a 10-year warranty. That becomes, and I'm talking too much, please,
okay.
Please stop me, because I do this. Because the other problem that comes in, not only in the coating industry, but it's also in the membrane industry, when you've got the NDL warranties versus the labor and material warranties. You've got a lot of contractors going out there buying buckets, not doing NDL warranties, not having the roof inspected, just rolling it out, giving a labor material warranty, which is if the material fails warranty, it's not a leak warranty. And I do lunch and learns. I've done probably 40 trying to explain the difference between NDL warranties and labor and material warranties, and it's hard to get property managers and condo boards to understand the difference. But it's the lack of being able to monitor where the product's being used, which is causing some of the problems out in the marketplace. Why we're in this trouble, and I will stop talking here.
No, that's okay, because I think we're gonna hear a lot of the same thing coming down here. And so I just want to point out, 3 or 4 years ago in Chicago, when we were talking about what was the biggest problem, it was clogging of the spray equipment. Now we're talking about NDLs and warranties, so there's been definitely a sophistication within the market. So I want to point that out, because I think it's really interesting. Lisa.
So would you say it's a lack of education from the manufacturer to the contractor, or a lack of
Like a
communication?
training.
No, I'm gonna disagree. To me, it's a matter of wanting to sell a job. You take a marketplace like Chicago, we're union contractors, roughly 92 contractors in the roofing union. About 40 or 45 of us do the lion's share of the work. And we probably got 200 non-union companies. So it's a huge marketplace, tremendous competition. Through Roofers Insurance Limited, I get to network with people all over the country, and I'll hear a lot of people say, things are really busy and we get to raise our price and make all this money. In Chicago, we never get to raise our price. There's always somebody who needs work, there's always somebody. So they're gonna go out and they're gonna buy buckets from the supplier, they're gonna buy buckets from Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards, and they're gonna go and roll it out because they wanna sell a job and make money, and they're not gonna be there to stand behind it. And that's where we have trouble. My last comment is,
Lisa's shaking her head.
So
I know,
something,
we're-
No, I'm not,
something
yeah,
comes before the contractor.
where you're buying from.
You're something you're
Yeah.
not problem before the contractor putting it down versus the product.
Yes, that's
Right.
a major
Okay.
problem.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not the problem.
I was talking about going to Home Depot or Lowe's, because you've got a failure on your hands as soon as you walk in there and buy this. It's not a quality grade equipment. It's not a commercial grade equipment. The homeowner can go in there and buy that.
And let's go on, Lisa, yeah.
Okay, so my largest concern and challenges are ignorance, training, and equipment is still part of it. So I want my product tested. I want my product to be good. I want to be able to stand by it. My primary warranty I sell is a 20-year. And I sell a lot of them, a whole lot of them. And I hold the first 10 years. I'm all right with it. And here's why. I've done my research on the building. I've done my research on the property. We've inspected everything we need to inspect. There's a lot of contractors, like he said, that if Chuck in a truck, will go and buy from wherever where you don't have any allowances, you just go buy it and smear it without doing the details right. The devil's in the details. We're a roofing contractor that installs coatings. We know if the roof is not waterproofed, do not put the coating on, because you've got an issue. So that is where we take our ignorance out of it. But there's other companies that do that. They just don't
So
care.
you foster a relationship with the manufacturer, you
Yes.
know the coating's gonna.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Second challenge is training. To get our 15 and 20-year warranty, I have to have an approved applicator on that roof. And I've got 2 of them in my crew. So I've got the guy that's actually doing the estimating, and I got the guy that's actually running the job. So I've got 2 approved applicators at all time on the job, which means they're responsible for that job if it fails. And if the job fails, they lose that. You train your people and you get better. You give them the responsibility of what they're installing and they get better. And equipment is the third. We actually run 2 gay codes and a Titan because we spray a lot of silicone. Silicone and urethane are tough. Tough on your equipment. You run that xylene and that mineral spirits through it. It starts weighing down on that equipment. So we have it to where we've got it backed up to where we can keep on rocking and rolling. So we've spent probably $100,000 in equipment just to keep that crew moving at full force. When we first started, we only had one piece of equipment, didn't go successfully. So now we've had to invest in that department to make sure they can install full time.
Rudy?
Yeah, I agree with all of the comments, and I was thinking back to my marketplace. So my environment is relatively dry. I don't have the challenges too much with regards to moisture migration, but the largest challenges seem to be is recognizing the right fit for the coating, recognizing the right system to install coatings over, and then the training. Training is imperative to be successful with coding. Most of the companies listed up here, all of the companies listed up here, have fantastic products. It's at the installation where and the prep work that we see most of the failures. We see the typical stuff, the peeling and all that. That's just part of prep. The prepping is one of the biggest challenges that we see by our friends in the industry. After they install the coating, most of the failures that we see are basically related to prep. So the biggest challenge that coatings face is the training and the prep of the roofing system. You still have to waterproof, you still have to do all the repairs prior to installing a good coating system. And it goes without saying, warranties behind it are going to be a challenge as manufacturers start to become more aggressive. With regards to who installs coatings, where they buy it, everybody's got those contractors that don't operate at this level, at the level of like this room. So the biggest concerns with that. Yeah.
Very good. Dennis, what are your biggest concerns and challenges with coatings?
That's some of what Rudy said. Biggest concern is making sure that the crews are trained properly, bringing in the manufacturers to check the project. That's pretty important. And obviously, overspray is a big one. When I bought a few cars. But we look at the problems with the coatings and things like that. We do a lot of it. It's important. We always the challenge is to make sure you keep up with the proper equipment and keep the equipment up and running. We're currently running a lot of coating jobs at this time, and the proper pumps and everything makes a big difference. And that's something that the manufacturer can help you with as far as spraying of silicone or urethane. Their input early on to let you know that, hey, you're gonna have to use a transfer pump with the Graco 733 or whatever to spray their product. It's important to know that before you bid a job, when you bid it, that you have all the proper equipment. But there's really not a whole lot of challenges other than Prep's a big thing. You put it on right, it's gonna work. If you don't, it's gonna blister, it's gonna peel off. We've seen every bit of those. And we've seen a lot of our competitors that will sell a 10-year roof with minimal millage on it. And that's important. The contractor's got the manufacturer involved, and they're doing their test cuts and stuff to do the inspection. I like it when the manufacturer comes out and he'll actually tell you that roof isn't good for a coating. You know, that's the important thing, making that decision that, hey, this job should be coating or shouldn't be coating. And, you know, we do a lot of single plies, a lot of modifieds, and the roof has to fit the job. So that's what we look at.
I think, wait, we had Brian here first.
So, obviously, training's been a hot thing here in the last 10 minutes. We talked about a training program that RCMA has developed. Beyond that, so you have manufacturers that you're involved with in the training program. Would it be valuable from your standpoint as a contractor to have an industry unified certified program from someone like the RCMA that was certified as a general unified voice from all manufacturers from a startup to finish standpoint, and then you can use that in with your other training programs?
I don't think so. And here's why. The systems that we primarily install, they are required to go to a continuing education class once every 2 years. So if they've made changes to the products or making changes to the systems, less millage or whatever, those guys are trained. For me, I think each manufacturer has their own training that they should do, where there's even videos that you can do, because you don't want to send someone down and do a hands-on training. Anything that you guys can provide is good for the employees. Not everyone's system is the same. Some require fabric, some don't. So it's just depending on the system. So if you go in and do a broadband training, it may not apply to the system I'm installing, or he's installing. So I think it's more of a manufacturer have a training for their systems. And I'm just gonna be perfectly honest with you. I don't think anybody's gonna do 14 different systems in the room, are they? Would you do 14 different manufacturer systems, or do you primarily have a couple?
12.
Okay, so with that being said, those guys need to be trained for those 12, not just, I don't think it's a general training.
But a training program that would be geared towards best practices.
Yeah.
Something like, for example, when you talk about not infrared scanning a roof, the training program would explicitly spell out what the advantages and benefits and features of doing something like that, so that you don't go back a year later and see blisters everywhere.
But I don't think that goes to your installers either. I think that is more at our level, the estimator's level.
But hear me out. So the program would include those kind of modules, best practices, and then after you completed that program, you could then take, let's say, an RCMA approved logo or whatever you want to call it, and actually use it for your own marketing purposes out into the field. So you could go to a client and say, listen, I'm not just installing Google, but I have an RCMA approval on this. I'm certified by that body that I understand best practices. Would that be something that would be appealing to you? It would be a marketing tool.
Yeah, I think a national standard training and certification definitely for setting a standard as well as marketing is very valuable. We through NRCA, my own company, has certified through pro certification already. And then a regional, obviously, we work in a different environment than Lisa and Mitch. So a regional standard would be very valuable as well.
So basically, if we gave you the kosher seal of approval, that would be attractive to you?
Well, I think so. I think one of the things you establish that program, and you could go to architects and owners and say, hey, shouldn't your contractor be approved? And you have that certification, and that would direct the business more to your organization rather than just the guy that gets the bucket out of the Home Depot. Just being a member of that, I think would be beneficial, just in a specifying session.
I think you might be hearing from us in the near
have, foam organizations, I don't remember the SMF.
That's good.
Yeah, they have a certification. We've actually seen, that included in some specs, that you have a qualified applicator in that. And that just makes it better for all of us. The more intense you get on training and certification, the better off you can keep the guys with the 2 buckets and the pickup truck out of the mix.
We have a question back here in the back.
Yeah, so, I think it's an interesting perspective, and I'm not gonna use any names of any brands, but, if the industry is dictating that people are trying to, keep their roofs in good shape or have them last longer, whether it's in-house maintenance, whether it's a university or even a commercial property, but even a homeowner or, somebody that owns, 5 just random pop-up, metal buildings. The industry is dictating that these products should be on the shelf and readily available. And the depots, the Menards, the Lowe's, the retailers, the lumber dealers, they're all seeing increased demand for wanting those products. My question to you is, what is your suggestion? What is your thought process as to how to differentiate the market from the specialized, the professional contractor who is, has certain standards, and then the chuck and the truck, which, still has a segment in the space. We're not gonna tell Home Depot, sorry, no manufacturer's gonna sell you if you don't actually like that part of the business. Home Depot's gonna find it, and they're gonna put it on their shelf. So the question to you is, knowing that that business is going to exist and that it will continue, it can't just be, training and separation. What else do you think can be done to, raise the standards for the chuck and the truck as well?
So, we invest a lot in being a professional roofing company. I think my colleagues here
Yes.
do as well. Look, if you're a licensed contractor, whether you're one person or, in this case, 2,000 people, the standards apply to everybody. And buying at some of the places you mentioned, not professional roofing distributors, you're gonna, I don't know how you would,
Yeah, how do you do it?
provide some guidance. Obviously, you need typical stuff, YouTube, I'm sure that person goes to buy some of those materials, even the homeowner, or building owner, and YouTube's it, and now he thinks he's a professional roofer. So, I would say it's gonna be difficult, and thankfully it is difficult, because we invest a lot of money in uplifting our professional roofing standards.
If I could jump in for a second, what we try to do in our proposals is in every proposal, I include the manufacturer's application letter that we're an approved applicator of the system. And then we have in every proposal that the manufacturer will inspect the roof when we're finished, and we highlight it. So if we can get the conversations going, that if they've got a contractor who's coming out who can't prove that he's an approved applicator and the roof's not gonna be inspected afterwards, that's how we try to control the quality on jobs that we're going after.
Yeah, we provide a copy of our approved contractor's license in with our proposal, so that they know that the person installing your product has been approved by the manufacturer. So you're getting the quality because they were trained to put the product on.
Is that, yep. Okay, we here and then we'll go back there, go ahead.
So, I think a lot of times, I would hope that the customer ultimately would burn bridges with those types of contractors. But to your point, Mitch, I think it's more so that the customer's gonna take that as a failure of the product, right? The coating, they'll burn bridges with that type of chemistry. I like your approach upfront, doing a negative sale, right? Where you say, hey, you know what, if it's not gonna be done correctly, if we're not gonna do the IR scans, if we're gonna go over a wet roof, I know it's a great project, I know it's a great customer, I'd rather walk away. I would hope that that would be the upfront way to kind of qualify that a little better, at least open their eyes and say, hold on, you don't wanna do this? I work with you all the time. And just more and more of those negative sales on the upfront side before we get the coatings down on bad roofs.
it's gonna, if you're dealing with property managers, and most of what I'm talking about is in the condo marketplace, they have to get burned on a couple
Yeah.
before they're gonna finally learn that the cheaper products, the cheaper applicator is not always the way to go. Just because they say that it's the same, it isn't. And I think what you have to be careful of, though, that they get burned, but they don't feel it's because it's a bad product, that they get burned because it was a bad application.
Yeah.
Two different things. But I think that's gonna be the case in a lot of these jobs.
We had a question back here, right there.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, you obviously are very professional contractors, and we've heard stories of each one of you having failures. So how often are you finding in a typical year that you're actually having a job fail on you?
I wanna clarify here for mine, I haven't had a job fail. I've been on jobs that others have done that have failed.
So have you never had to go back and actually, every job you've done has been warranted perfectly and never had any issues?
I'm not gonna, I've had jobs with warranty that had leaks, but have I ever replaced a roof in the 43 years I've been doing this? The answer is no.
Okay, I just did 2,200 squares on a metal roof, and the panel was not properly seamed, it was a trap roof. Well, you don't know that going in. They just, we have a few leaks, it's trap roof, we did everything we needed to do to make it right, well then they leaked. So we literally have to get on a rolling scaffold and find where these leaks are occurring. And what happened was the seamer jumped, and everywhere it jumped, there was an opening. So we had to go in and mechanically seam again. I mean, hand seam, excuse me, and then go back and repair with coating. Guess what, since we've done that, and you don't know that going in. They don't tell you the truth, this is a big bid job for our airport authority. They don't tell you the problems going in. You find out after you're on the roof. But we figured it out because we were smart enough to go and do the research that we needed to, even after it was coated. We got it fixed, and that was one of our worst warranty situations. But our actual manufacturer came in and helped us with it because it was a huge job.
Yeah,
And they realized that was something they wouldn't have even found. We literally had to lay on our stomachs and look at the underside of that panel to find that. And it was just a foot or two here and there. It wasn't all over the roof, it was just here and there.
That's the problem.
No, it was a trap, and when they seamed the panel, the seamer jumped off. And the person at top and the person at the bottom didn't care. Because guess what? They were there to seam that roof. They seamed it.
So it was never fully correct.
That's correct.
So it was persistent leaks, right?
Yes, but we didn't know that when we were awarded the contract. They don't tell you this stuff, so this is a trap roof, you trust that you can coat a trap roof, and they typically do not leak.
Have you since put in any type of qualification prior to at least help mitigate some bad?
Anything now that we look at, especially if it's not negotiated, we lay down on our stomachs and look at the projects. Yes.
I don't think there's anybody up here that hasn't had callbacks.
Yeah.
I haven't to date experienced a complete failure, but I've seen them.
I have to.
Dennis?
Well, I've seen failures, but we've had callbacks associated with prep work. We had some issues quite a while back where we did some silicone coatings, and then they talked our sales guy into doing 100% solids, and they didn't get the second coat on right away the next day, and we had some blistering. Part of that was, I think, just education as far as knowing how that coating should go down. And, you're gonna have issues like that, and it's just part of the business, you gotta pay attention.
Go ahead.
Just one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Language challenges are talking about, so you mentioned metal roof substrates. What are some of the challenging substrates that you may have to, you may run into coating and the prep for those? Are any more challenging than others, and why?
For me, EPDM is probably the worst. And here's why. There's not a lot of EPDM roofs being installed, and now if they are, they're the white. So if you've got an old black EPDM roof, polymer's chalking off, you've got a lot of stuff that you have to make sure it's clean, first of all. But we'll typically go in and restrip the labs or either strip them with fabric. If I walk it and I'm comfortable with it and I've tested some of the labs to make sure that I can probe them and they're adhered well, then I'm good with actually adding fabric. but if it's an EPDM roof that's over 15 years old, I'm gonna make sure there's some type of lab preparation done on it. We're prepping 2,800 squares now, we're restripping the labs next year, and coming and code it, give it time to flash on. But this is what we do. So we go in as a roofing contractor, recognize what needs to be done on the building. We've done the preventative maintenance on this building for 15 years, now we're prepping it for the next stage of life. So for me, EPDM is probably my worst.
Mitch? Yeah.
I can't really answer that. We haven't, again, we're late to the game on this for specific reasons, so there's more experience on to the right of me than I can answer that question with.
Rudy?
Prepping, again, seed prepping, for us in the south, west, heat is obviously an issue, so any south-facing walls, those transitions, ensuring that they're reinforced properly, prepped properly. But we coat a lot of built up, and seam prepping is very important. Repairing compromised sections built up prior to installation of coating, and then ultimately the areas where you're going to receive a lot more heat.
Dennis?
I would go with Rudy on that as far as a lot of the recoats are built up, and you have a lot of areas where the reflection has gone down to TPO roofs and things like that. So it's a mix of making sure that when you do it, if the area needs to be reinforce it, identifying all those areas. And then, like I said before, identifying is the roof should be put in coating.
Okay, one more question and we're gonna go on to the next slide.
Hey guys, what kind of technical improvements would you like to see in your coatings, right? You're putting these coatings down and you're seeing these problems. Are you talking about improvements around how they apply, or performance improvements, warranty improvements? If you had to choose something, what would that technical next step be?
That's a great question. Certainly, the spray rigs are, some of our challenges in certain areas are oversprays and things of that nature. Maybe even technology on the application side. These are fluid applied membranes that cure with time. So I don't know how you would improve that part other than accelerated curing times. And I know a lot of new manufacturers already have that. So it's important to be able to have a product that will cure quickly, that you can walk on it to continue the process. But maybe on the technology side, certainly overspray, I think Mitch has challenges in that area. I know my friend here has bought a few cars.
I can help you with the overspray.
Well, one of the other things that we look at is a lot of the single ply failures. Some of the manufacturers come out with various primers. You go over a TPO or PVC, you want to make sure that you're providing the primer that really grips, and then you put that coating on, you're not going to worry about that coming loose. And part of that issue would be if you got a membrane that's chalking really bad, your prep for that is your primer going to dig into that good enough to where I can go up and pull it off later on. And we've seen some of that on occasion.
Lisa?
Pretty much the same. I mean, yeah. Coatings have changed a lot over the last 20 years. They keep changing. I think they're getting better. The biggest concern would be don't let them get to the point where you're messing with the ratios to where you don't have the same quality as what you have now. So if you've got a quality product, you start monkeying with it too much, you might have failure product. That's the biggest concern is as products change, sometimes the installation is not as easy, and the other part is they may not last as long because too much ratio change.
That's good? Okay. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to definitely talk about too was the material shortage, because we've heard this a lot through Rivers Coffee Shop, that during the material shortage, a lot of contractors went to other products, roof coatings being a very popular one, and then had you know, now that material shortage, it's not such a problem, is that sticking, or is it going back to the way it was before? How much has changed? And so Dennis, let's start with you on what, you know, how did you use coatings to deal with the material shortage, and how has it changed your business since then, or not?
It hasn't really changed our business a whole lot. Material shortages did drive us to looking at different manufacturers and finding manufacturers who are willing to step up at the time because of all the shortages. Our business is bringing about the same.
Rudy?
Yeah, I, same with Dennis, never, I mean, didn't see that challenge in that area. It was more about identifying the right fit for the coating system, the right building, the right client. But didn't experience that too much on our end.
Okay. And it's interesting to see Las Vegas, LA, you guys already were using a bunch of coatings, so already had a lot of those relationships going on.
Yes.
Lisa?
We probably sold more due to shortages. And now what we do is when a customer calls, we give them an option of a recover, or if they're, of course, a roof or a coating system. So we let them make the choice. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna beat them. Recover, and I sell the job. So this is roofs that we've truly done the homework on and, you know, did that. But yeah, we picked up and have stayed.
And it stayed.
Have
So
stayed,
you picked up more coatings and
Yes.
stayed.
Prices went up on silicone, they got pretty expensive. Now silicone has got to be a little bit more manageable. It was the only thing that we really struggled with price-wise, and it went up about $20 a gallon. And so we thought we were gonna really hit the wall. And now we've passed that savings back to customers. If we quoted something and they didn't pull the trigger, they wanna do it now, we were like, let's reprice it.
Okay. Good customer. Mitch?
Yeah, what we saw with the silicone was the price went way up. And then we got, you know, silicone was the cost-effective way to keep a roof going for another 10, 15, 20 years. And some of the manufacturers raised the price so much it became non-competitive. And we sat down, we did well during the material shortages. We were well taken care of by a number of roofing manufacturers, so we never really experienced a material problem. But the silicone got to a price where a TPO, Rhino Bond mechanically fastened system became cheaper than installing the silicone system. Now the pricing has come back down again, and it's less money, it's another viable option, but it became almost a product that we said we don't really need because the price got too high.
Okay, yes.
Hey guys, when you think about your best coatings manufacturer supplier, did they find you or did you find them, and where did you go to look?
They found us.
Yeah, we have great relationships with our suppliers because of the other types of roofing systems that we use. We make sure that the coating systems, the coating products that we typically specify for our clients are readily available on the shelf, especially the components that we use.
Rudy's got an important point there in that when I met with first the companies that I did a lot of business with, and then I called in some people I didn't know, but I wanted local distribution. I said, I don't want to have a product where I have to stock several pallets in case I get a job, and if we're 3 buckets short, we gotta wait for an LTL delivery to bring it in because nobody locally stocks it. Chicago has a huge amount of local suppliers. Buying direct is not something that we do much in our region. So if a product isn't stocked locally, we don't normally use it.
So, okay, yes, back here, and then.
My question is actually related to your answer. Can you elaborate a little bit more as far as, well, I'm curious from everybody, the difference between how much of their business is bought direct versus how much is bought through distribution?
Oh, direct versus distribution, your percentages.
100%
coatings.
distribution.
For coatings.
Yeah,
For coatings.
100%
distribution.
100% distribution.
Yeah, 100%.
Dennis?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. all through distribution. There you go, Jim.
So picking up on the comment about how to find your supplier, how many of your projects are driven by architects or roof consultants, or are you driving the material selection?
70% is me, 30% is architects and others.
Mitch?
Right now, it's, probably 60-40 our spec versus theirs.
For us, it's, we have a robust business development team, so it's 90%. It's all negotiated direct with owners, serving managers.
Probably about 60-40 for us. 40 being what we drive, and 60 being from some of the architects. There's several consultants in our area that push rejuvenation, whether it be a recoating job or actually emulsion with the coating, that type of thing. And there's some that push the silicones and the irritants, which is, I like to see them pushing something that's more expensive.
So can I ask a follow-up then? Is the design community, or do you feel like they have the options? Are they educated on the options, or are they kind of, one-trick ponies in terms of what they want to see on the roof?
Well, I know that like our company works, and we actually write a lot of specs, but we also work with our manufacturer that we're using, and we try to get the manufacturer in with these architects and different things, engineers and stuff like that. We just did a bunch of wall coatings for our power company, and we put the spec together through our manufacturer to do that. We sprayed it with silicone. Huge projects. I mean, they were small buildings, but like all over. So we traveled for 10 weeks doing that. Had our crew trained to where they could do it. Now we coat wall projects all the time, but it was a spec that we helped write in coalition with our manufacturer.
I think the lack of knowledge from the design community is certainly a factor. A lot of the coding specifications and coding sets are driven by the representation, meeting with associations like BOMA and others, and by the contractor. In my experience, we've seen very little come through professional segments like architectural and consulting.
Interesting. Okay. I know time-wise, so Jesse, you gotta give me the high side. 15? Okay, great. Do you see an increase in productivity and reduction in your labor needs around coding applications? Obviously, this goes to what we can talk about every single day in the coffee shop, labor shortage and what's happening. So how has coding started to help or not the labor situation within your companies? Mitch, I'll start with you.
Well, it's an interesting question because you want to, as a company owner, I want to make sure that all my employees make a good living. And one of the problems that has come up with these systems where you can put them down faster, you get on and off the roof faster, puts a lot of stress on the estimating department to sell more squares and more work. If you go on a tear off and you're there for 3-4 weeks, and you can tie up that crew for a period and you don't have to worry about them and work on other stuff, but now you go ahead and you do a coating job on that building instead and you're off of that job in 4 days, you've got to have another job behind it. So from an estimator's point of view, the faster production jobs makes their jobs a lot more difficult. They've got to sell a lot more work than having a job where you can vary a crew for a long period.
Okay, I just have to say, in the practice, when Mitch said that, I was like, I just never even thought of that. But then Lisa, go ahead, because she was like, yes, this is the thing.
We have 4 men, that's all they do. They coat 5 days a week, sometimes 7, depending on the weather. But yes, that's all they do. They get 40 hours a week, plus doing nothing but coatings. There's one job for that, an estimator. Make sure that crew is always moving.
So, Lisa, when did you change that? I mean, you kind of told that backstory.
About a year ago.
Yeah,
About a year ago. I was managing the coatings and the service and being the VP, and it was just too much. So we had that crew so defined, and we had 2 approved applicators. And one of them just came from an FAA background, just smart as could be, and I said, come on in. He'd come to me and say, you need to do this, figure this on the job, you need to figure it out. I said, no, I don't, you do. I'm gonna train you how to do it. You're gonna train them. Your sole responsibility is to make sure those guys know what they're doing. So we got another approved applicator, put in the crew. He comes out of the crew whenever they're pressure washing and just doing the stuff that where he really doesn't have to be involved, and goes and estimates. And he goes and looks at projects, follow leads and different things like that. A lot comes through our doors because we're a pretty small community, even though we work 4 states. So there's a lot that comes through our door that we come get asked to code or put to code. And that's his full job. So if he doesn't have a job for those guys, they're not going to do something else. It's his responsibility to make that crew move. Game changer.
So a whole different flip.
Yep.
Rudy?
I absolutely love the coatings part of our business. Smaller crews move through jobs very quickly. It definitely has improved productivity, and like Lisa said, now we have a designated teams that handle the coating side, and it continues to grow in our business. But definitely love that part of it.
We've had dedicated spray foam and coating crews since we started, and that's all they do is spray coatings. It's a good mix. It's a smaller crew, get something done quicker, and it's just important that you have them dedicated. The labor savings comes when you can maybe switch a job from a real intense tear off and roofing application to the coating. And we're nimble enough where we can do that, and it just kind of fits in your schedule.
Yes.
I guess I don't see it, but I've heard the complaint, is there any validity to people complaining that having a 2-component product and having a dedicated person mixing and a mixing station, does that affect production in any real measurable way?
No, we do a lot of PMMA roofing as well. So yeah, through various manufacturers. So we do full PMMA roof systems.
Okay.
And you got one person that's all they do.
Yeah.
They're the mixer, so the other 3, you got your 2 guys in advanced prepping, 1 guy mixing, and then 1 guy starting to roll. And then after all then when the prep's done, then they're all prepping. The 3 are prepping and 1 mixing.
I hear that, it's, as you switch chemistries or products or systems, I like this better because I'm losing 1 guy. I've never really viewed it that way. I feel like you just have buckets coming and there's a lot of advantages to 2-component products. So.
Yeah, well, if you're not using drums, you're having 1 guy mixing constantly as well. So
Sure, yeah.
if you're using 5-gallon cans, somebody better be a mixer or you're gonna have some failure on your roofs.
Go ahead.
Initially, it could be a short learning curve.
Sure.
Once you get it really going, it really leaves you knowing.
Right. Okay.
Is that a question? So, with the increase in coatings, I imagine your coating business is increasing. What's sort of the mix between your restoration coating business and re-roofing or roof membrane systems? And that's that grown.
Mitch, you want to start? Because you're just starting to get.
Right, it's just still a small part of our business. It's less than 5% of our business at this point, but it's going to be the fastest growing.
Yeah, I'm 1.7 right now in coatings and 4.38 in service, and we're a 12 million company, including my number. So that kind of gives you the amount.
And for us, primarily, 70% of our business is roofing with systems, membranes. 30% is going to be on the coating side.
I'd say right now we're probably 20% of our business is coating, but we're full service. I mean, we do waterproofing, currently spraying a lot of polyurea waterproofing, foam roofing, single plies. I mean, for the Las Vegas area, for TPO, in essence, we probably installed 35 million square feet of TPO in that area. So the single plies are a big part of our business, but the coating is the primary component. We always keep that going.
Well,
So I was with some architects and they boldly told me that coatings are a 2-year solution and it's maintenance only. How do you respond to that?
I show them my warranties that I have, and I show them the roofs that we've put on that are out of warranty and still performing. And we do a lot of, we do a system where you do an upsell at the end, so say you got a 10 or 12-year roof, because when we first started, we only did 10 or 12-year roofs because we were so insecure about it. And we'll go at the 11.5-year mark, take the manufacturer's rep up there, say do the inspection, and what can I do to get them under another 10-year warranty. So now we're doing a lot of that. So that is proof in the pudding. It's not everybody believes in coatings. It's been a struggle for us. And my boss called us from Texas and says, we don't paint roofs. And he still says that, as a joke, but he'll come into me all the time and go, there's another coating project, there's another coating project, there's another coating project. I was like, oh, I don't think we painted roofs. He is very respected in the industry, so when he comes to the architect or engineer and says, this is what I'd recommend, they typically will listen to him, and we can walk them on roofs. I've got enough of them now under our belt that we can prove to them that we know what we're doing, and there are good products.
I think it's information by manufacturers that don't do coatings that go into meet with professional design teams and during their box lunch presentation and talk about maybe white coatings are not a good fit, rather than these are systems that can support their systems later on. So I think it's maybe more information.
Also, your reps don't make as much money on a coating system as they do on a full-blown system.
Part of it would be education for the architects. I mean, that's something that comes into the manufacturer when you get into these guys and saying, hey, here's what our product is, and explaining them how it works. There's just so many different coatings out there. You get a good rep, gets in there, sees that architect, does a little lunch and learn, and says, hey, here's what we provide, and he gives them some backup as far as, here's some projects. It's good to have good visible projects that you can show the guys, like, here, this is 10 years old, you can take it out and show it to them. The education.
yes.
As someone who's dealt with architects for a long time, there's a learning curve for them. There's a lot of the older specifiers are retired, as if they need, it's done their due diligence, and the younger crew that are coming in, just like everything else in the workforce, doesn't have the experience to understand some of these things. So to your point, they are listening to what they're being told a lot, and they're not getting the right information. Just visiting with different firms and having conversations at this point, there's a lot of liability concerns on their part, because just anything they do is always tear it all down, start all over. They don't want to deal with fixing things, and that's the thing with the industrial or coating is. We're just fixing something that's there. And that's part of our challenge as a group here, is to get that into their mind, that we're not actually fixing the issue, we're actually extending what's there, and that's part of that life cycle curve. Not a question, it's a statement, sorry.
No, I think that's great, and I think we've actually gone through, and I probably saw me flip it on, how are we on time? 7 minutes, okay. So on service and maintenance, some of these slides we've talked about as you were asking questions in service and maintenance, but I think it's important, we kind of started here, and just how important the warranties are to you as a company, as a roofing company, and the support of the warranties in your sales and afterwards and everything like that. So, Mitch, let's start with you.
It's critical. It's a partnership. And we need to have a manufacturer who's going to be with us from the minute we look at the job, to sell the job, to complete the job, and be there when it's over. Our neighborhood is, and I don't know, it could be the same in theirs, is price and warranty. People don't read the 12 bullet points you put in your proposal. They look at the price at the bottom and how long the warranty is. And we've got to make sure that they're not going to read everything above it, that we know that who we're selecting as our partner for that coating job is going to stand next to us and beside us.
Lisa?
Yeah, I really don't sell a job unless it has a warranty. I want the protection of my manufacturer behind me. With that being said, well, I take that back. Somebody calls and says, hey, in 2 years, I don't have the funds right now, can you just put a coating on my roof to help me stop the bleeding? We do some of that type stuff, just to help them. But then in 2 years, we're knocking on the door saying, what kind of roof are we gonna put on here? So with that being said, I 99.9% of the time sell a warranty, and the reason being for the protection of my company, because the warranty is written from the manufacturer, not from me. And every roof should have a warranty. We do a lot of recoats. We do a lot of, I've got one I'm fixing to do the 3rd recoat on. So it's a 12-year system 10, about to do another 10 on it. And they're still viable. It's a still viable roof. So that's just an example.
Yeah, we are like Lisa. We won't sell any without a manufacturer's warranty. So the warranties are very important to us. Obviously, manufacturer representation. That is a partnership for our sales. On both the re-roof side and the service side, coatings on the service side for us, we have a pretty robust maintenance and repair division. All of our maintenance to our clients, all the waterways get coated, all of them. So you'll know when you're on our projects, the waterways are coated. That's how we start our relationship with our clients, and we maintain them. And then we beat them into that direction, whether we restore the roof with a great roof coating, or go with the roofing system like a simple.
Excellent. Dennis?
Yeah, that's similar to what we do, what Rudy says is, our service department uses the coatings and the service work they do to get us in the door, get in there to recoat the whole. So they see that the coatings has worked for the waterways, or we put silicone in there. They see that that's working, so it's easier for us to move them into a re-roof or recoat from what our service does for them. And our dedicated service department is really good at doing that.
Strong coordination. Go ahead. Yes.
I'm curious as to know how often or what the relationship is of selling preventive maintenance contracts when you do sell warranties. Because most of the manufacturer's warranties are gonna require that, all roofing does. Do you use that as a tool? Do you sell a lot of maintenance contracts, or do you sell?
If you want a 15 or a 20-year roof system, you have to have a maintenance contract. If it's just a one-time-a-year inspection for the first 5 years, and after that, then we give them a price to actually come in and maintain the roof 1 time per year. Protects us, protects them, protects the manufacturer.
We definitely use that to our advantage. We love selling maintenance agreements. We come in twice, 4 times a year, conduct maintenance, we charge for it, obviously roof inspection once a year, and so certainly we leverage our warranties with one of our agreements.
Yeah, that's what we do is also we'll take our setters or whatever that we're maintaining and push them to the point of doing the coating. Because if we've maintained it since the roof is new, there's no point in re-roofing or recovering. You can actually coat it at that point when they're coming out of that manufacturer's warranty.
Okay.
The same with us.
Identical?
Yeah,
Dennis?
that's similar to what we do with the preventive maintenance. We like selling preventive maintenance, it keeps us in the door for a period of time, and it keeps us on top of the condition of the client's roof. And that's important, so eventually it leads into maybe a complete recoat.
We're gonna end this with a quick, a little bit of a recap, but how can coatings manufacturers help you improve and grow your business? What would enable your company to increase the use of roof coatings? So we're gonna start with you, Mitch, on those 2 questions, and then we can take any questions after that.
I kind of feel we've covered
I know,
these
give us
questions.
Give us a recap.
So, how can the manufacturers help improve and grow? Basically, with increased training and the ability to have local support. So when we look at a project and we want the manufacturer to come out and say this roof is acceptable, because we need that approval before we put our proposal in. So to me, that's very important, and we have a couple that we work with to do that. And what would enable your company to increase the use of roof coatings? That's happening. You know, we're creating and honestly, the maintenance contracts and the buildings that we have under maintenance contracts is what is driving our coating business. We've started our service department about 12 years ago. I've got a whole pile of buildings that are 17, 18, 19-year-old roofs now, and that's what's driving our growth in coatings, and that's the direction we're going.
Lisa?
I helped me grow my business lead generation programs. We're currently in a really good one that's very successful. Also, we have a lot of, we internally bind our warranties that are about to expire on our re-roofs and recovers. And then we start chasing that down if we're not maintaining those roofs to get more business. So if that information actually came through the manufacturer versus us having to do it in-house, that would be great. Increase use of coatings. I think I've already answered that. We do it full time, so unless I created another crew, I think I'm where I'm gonna be, and I'm not saying that in the future that won't happen. As we sell more, we will just train another crew and continue, but yeah.
Rudy?
I think that for the manufacturer side, increase awareness with the building community. Get involved with MOMA, get involved with IFMA, get involved with ICSC. Show them all the benefits of coatings on the roofing side. And then increase speculation. I think misinformation is what we talked about a little while ago with the design professionals. So that's how we can grow together. On the to increase the use of roof coatings, as Lisa said, I mean, we're moving up on roof coatings. We're increasing our business, almost daily. For me, personally, in California, California Energy Commission added a new code. We have to put 2 inches of insulation if we want to re-roof a climate controlled facility. So that gives coatings a major opportunity to be a huge factor in our market.
With spray foam, 2 inches of spray foam.
Dennis?
Part of the manufacturer's helping. I think, improve marketing to the building owners and architects and stuff, and just banging on the guy's doors. There's some people that won't even entertain a coating, and that may be because they had a failure somewhere. But I think the marketing and the architects have done good. We're increasing our amount of coating we do every year, so we're doing good on that.
I didn't want to say this. I'm gonna throw a company out there. GAF sends a letter to the owners and copies us in on it every time we do a GAF roof about preventative maintenance. If at the end of that warranty, they could actually send something out about you can restore a roof by doing a roof coating, that would be beneficial. They sell it. They can promote it, and they can actually tell you what they would prefer for you to use because they have such a large line now. So that's just an example. As a manufacturer, what they could do is send something out to your customer about how important preventative maintenance is, but also send something out saying, here's your education on roof coatings, you can restore your roof instead of recover and replace it. That would be a big advantage.
I want to say thank you very much to all of you. I have learned a lot, and I think from the questions, we know a lot of people, this is great. I want to thank General Coatings for making this possible to help get all the contractors here to sponsor this panel. It is so good. And I want to thank all of you for the great questions, for the great engagement. Most of you will be here through the day, so if you want to visit with them during lunch or during the things, please, that's the whole idea. We want to create these relationships. And also, we will have information over in the lunchroom for Coatings Coffee Shop, where we will also have all these wonderful contractors submitting information and articles and different things, so we can help you that way. So thank you very much.